What's up, chums? Sharky here, and welcome back to the Shark Bites podcast.
Can't get rid of me.
It's been a hot minute since we've talked.
That it has.
I just got back from the beach this past weekend.
Ooh, the beach.
Yeah, I went to North Padre Island, and it was a lot of fun. My family gets on my nerves a lot,
As family does.
but I think overall it was fun. We just had a few minor hiccups here and there. I didn't find any shells, though. I was kind of disappointed.
Gotta look harder next time.
Well, I think it was because the tide was high, like the whole time we were there, so it was washing everything away. I found one.
Bad timing.
I found one shell.
Well, at least you found one.
It was a. What are those called? I think it's like a scallop shell, but it was a little tiny baby one. What have you been up to lately?
Avoiding the heat.
I hear that.
I hate it.
It's getting hotter here, too.
I am ready for winter already. That's how much I hate summer.
Although I will say, I can tolerate Illinois summers more than Texas's summers because hell is approaching here. Where it's
Only hell?
108 degrees every day. Lately, it's not been too bad, knock on wood. It's been like 85 degrees or so.
You know you just jinxed yourself.
Oh, I know it's coming regardless. Like, even if I didn't say anything, it's still coming, so. But, yeah, I think 2020 was one of the hottest summers we had.
Well, luckily that was the year of just staying inside.
True, but anytime I did have to go outside, I was like, no, I don't want to go.
Yeah.
Literally, like, all of 2020, the only times I went outside was to go to the mailbox to get my pins, because that's when I was buying a bunch of pins all the time. When I was with my parents still, so all of my money went towards my pin collection.
The infamous pin collection.
The boards are filling up, man. Like, I was looking at them the other day, and I don't have that much empty space left. I maybe have like
Running out of room.
3 spots that still need to be filled, but
You better get those spots filled and then buy you another board.
I don't know where I'd put it if I got another board. I guess on the other wall, like next to my bed. I just don't want it to fall on me because it might crush me in my sleep.
That's my pins. Who cares?
Honestly, though, like, once it does start filling up, that's solid metal, right? So, like, that does get very heavy after.
Oh yeah, I've had a pin fall out of the roof of my car and hit me while I was driving.
Ain't no joke.
It's not fun when it's in the middle of summer and they're hot.
I've also, like, accidentally stabbed myself with the back at times. Like, when I'm changing them out.
That's just normal with pins.
Yeah, I forget they're sharp. So, well, actually, some of them are sharp, and then others, I'm like, nah, this ain't that bad. But I still stab myself. I don't know.
The pen struggle.
Have you been doing any drawings or anything fun lately?
Oh yeah, lots of art.
Well, where's it at?
It's spicy art.
Oh, that's why I haven't seen it.
Exactly.
Well, that's cool.
I doubt you want to see my spicy art.
I haven't really been drawing much lately. I just finished a Pride commission for Alex, but other than that, I haven't really been doing much.
I get back into drawing.
I want to do some fan art of like just characters that I like.
Do it.
I should do like
Just do it.
I should do a stream doing some like Shark Tale art or something for summer.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Well, I guess.
See, there you go. Now you just gotta do it.
I guess we'll go ahead and get into the topic.
And the topic for today is?
So, I actually got this from another podcast that I watch. It was an idea that I had. I want to talk about failure and like how we measure success. Now, this can mean many things. So, I've kind of made a little bit of a guide here of a couple like talking points. I mean, most of our podcasts are unscripted, but I do like to write a couple things down just to, I don't know, keep it interesting, I guess, because we do get off topic a lot.
Well, us getting off topic, that never happens.
This is the podcast where we never get off topic.
Never. Not once.
So, I guess, like, the first example that I could think of, and part of the reason why I wanted to talk about this was because my fiance's parents are, like, very hard on him. And they're always, like, telling him that he's a failure. I know, that sounds so sad and...
That's so horrible.
So mean. But, like, how do they measure success? So that's what we're going to talk about. So first of all, I'd like to talk about school. Like, I think everybody can relate to struggling in school in some way.
School sucked.
Yes.
It was horrible.
Yeah. I remember, like, as a neurodivergent, I needed a lot of extra help, especially with math and certain subjects.
Math can kiss my ass.
Did you fail a lot of classes, or were you pretty...
I surprisingly never failed a class.
That's good.
I came close in middle school. But in high school, straight C's kept me just floating.
Me too, for the most part. I think there was this one time, I think I was failing chemistry in high school, but somehow I got it up to a D, and that was, like, passable.
Let's see, I had a space science class. We didn't do anything in there, and I literally never turned in one single piece of homework, and I passed with a B.
Wow. Some classes are like that. Like...
Oh, he was the best teacher.
I just found it, like, so hard to, like, focus because of my ADHD. But, like, people always thought that I was, like, messing around. Like, I mean, I'm sure you know that, like, back then, ADHD wasn't really studied that much. So, like, people didn't know that much about it. So if you got in trouble for, like, you know, not paying attention in class, they just thought you were jerking off, you know.
Well, I would hope no one was doing that in class.
Well, you know what I mean, like just class clown types.
Actually, no, that's a story for another day. I went to school with interesting people.
I'm sure. Knowing where you live, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, but I mean, like, the school knew that I had ADD, and I had an IEP, but I had like one teacher, she would never follow it. Because I had where I could listen to my iPod during class. Or not during
See,
class, but like during a
I
test.
always feel like I needed one, but my parents just never like pursued it. So,
See, the school like talked to my parents was like, "Hey, you should probably get her tested."
so
So,
for those of you who don't know, an IEP is an individualized education plan, and it's basically like it could either like put you in like special ed, or you could be in um, like some kind of counseling, that kind of thing.
it kind of just varies from person to person.
Yeah.
So basically, I had an IEP from very early on. So I had basically about elementary to middle school was really when the actual special ed classes started.
Mhm.
Because I would have my English or reading class uh, in a different room with a different teacher in elementary school.
Yeah.
So that's kind of when it started, and I had to do speech classes because, well, I'm from Southern Illinois. I don't speak good anyways. So they kind of failed there.
Yeah.
But uh so I always had the same people in all my classes, and then getting to high school we had where you could have where like say about roughly half the class would be special ed, half would be regular. So it was kind of a transition type, or you and maybe a few others would be in a regular, just regular ed class.
Mhm.
But with your IEP, you're supposed to have, like I had on test, if it had 4 questions, I could have the it started off where I could have 2 of them taken away, but then later on, because I was getting better at test taking, it got to where just 1 was taken away.
I was a terrible test taker.
Same, and my one teacher, he knew I struggled with certain words in, because it was, I think it was American history. He was a cool teacher, and he would hand me my test, and he would always mark off 2 of them, even though I only had to have 1, and he'd let me go off for the rest of the class to go take the test as long as I turned it in at the end.
Yeah.
So I had good teachers, and then I had the assholes. But all through school, I basically just thought I was a failure.
See, I feel like it's common, for kids to feel that way because there's so much pressure put on kids at a young age, I feel, of
I mean,
like
like, they're
passing
like, "Oh,
everything.
you gotta get great grades, and you have to like get all A's and B's, and you gotta do this really well, and you gotta go to college."
So
I didn't go to college.
that's actually something too that I wanted to talk about is that I feel like they put way too much pressure on kids that they have to go to college. Because I remember when I was in high school, we would have our counselors like talk to us about looking at certain schools and like what we wanted to do and where we wanted to go. I'm like, bitch, I'm 16. I don't know where I want to
Yeah, like
go.
I feel like we're at such a young age then that I mean, it's a good idea to think about it, but not to be like, "Oh, if you don't go to college right after high school, you're a failure."
Yeah,
And that's basically what they tell you.
basically, because I remember them saying like, well, you
If you
need.
don't go to college, you'll be flipping burgers the rest of your life.
They went as far as like having us decide our major in high school. I was like, I don't know. I guess art because that's the only thing I know how to do.
Same. Like
But
I almost ended up going to college for special education.
that's what my sister's doing right now. She's in
Look,
college for
if I'd
that.
have gone through with that, I'd have hated it.
It's
Like it was
hard.
one thing doing like work with it,
hmm
but to actually like go to school for it, no.
Yeah, I. The funny thing is, like, what I ended up going to college for was like I started out doing art because that's what I said I wanted to do, but I kid you not, I actually failed an entire semester worth of classes and I changed my major because of it, because my GPA had dropped so low that there was no point in like continuing with that because I just lost interest in it.
Okay, now you've seen my art.
Yeah.
Now, I had in school where I thought I was a horrible artist, I was a failure, I could never do art professionally because of the way schools teach art, where it's literally just retain this information about
By the
this artist
book.
or time period.
By the book, yeah.
Like, I remember for one thing, we literally had where it was like, here is a black and white image of the Scream. We learned this on color today. Use these type of colors to color it.
Mhm.
Well, I had no interest. If I don't have an interest in it, I'm not going to apply myself to it.
The art classes that I did end up taking, I was so rebellious because they were like, we're gonna use two colored pencils for this one. I'm like, I want to use all my colored pencils, not just two of them. And I would beg the teacher to let us have like, like a free day where we could draw or make whatever we wanted to. And she'd just be like, no, we're not doing that. And I'm like, why? It's an art class.
See, and that's how it was with my crafts class too. It was a little better, but we still had to learn, like, I get it, you had to learn the history, like behind paper making, and then we'd make our own paper.
See, that's
But
more art
then I would
history, but yeah.
but then my thing is I would almost fail the section because the test part screwed me up, but the actual crafting I would do good at.
And that's the thing, like who fails at art? Like how can you fail art, Like
Art
they
is clearly a form of expression.
I feel like
What we're failing is art history.
they set it up that way so that you can actually fail art. It's like
Well,
why?
well, my school only ever cared about sports, so
Ew.
yeah. Ugh.
Yeah, I am honestly shocked that I made it through college. Like I definitely don't think it's for everybody, and that is totally valid and fine.
Yeah,
But
I am very glad that I took a year off
I barely made it.
when I got out of school.
And I was even preparing to like tell my parents like, "Hey, I think I'm going to drop out," and I don't know, somehow I made it, but I was
Hey,
real
credit to
close.
you.
I was real
I would
close.
not have.
But, I think of like, and this podcast episode is not about school, but I think that is a very prevalent thing in people's lives where they do feel like they're, it's common to fail at school related things, because I think part of the reason is because it's standardized and you're being held to, a level where you need to be at, say, like other people are telling you where you need to be, like mentally and like
It's like we're all
skill
fish
wise.
and we're it's like we're all fish and we're being graded on how well we can walk on land.
Yeah, it's not fair, and it's always been something that I kind of advocate against, like standardized testing and stuff, because no,
Test
like everybody is not on the same level. Like we all learn
yeah.
differently and at different paces.
And I had one teacher, she like was like, "Oh, you have this disability, you have this one. You guys have the same disability, you'll learn exactly the same." And guess
Mm-mm.
what? That's when I would almost fail my classes.
Mm-hmm.
So I basically gave up through school because I was like, well, I'm already failing. Well, I wasn't failing, but I was like, well, I'm a failure, so.
After I graduated, then I started, like, I would say within the last couple years, I've been thinking about, okay, how do we measure success in terms of like where I am in life? So like I've been thinking about marriage, and then, there's like kids and your career and things like that.
See, that's something that I hate, where people are like, oh, you're not successful unless you're married by this age, and then
Mhm.
you have a kid. It's like, but what about the people who struggle to conceive?
Mhm.
literally points fingers at myself.
Yeah, like well, like people point the finger at like, oh, it's your fault that you're not where you need to be. It's like who decides that?
Or when they're like, oh, it'll happen when it'll happen. And then they're like, so have you conceived yet? It's like, who are you to judge me here?
Why are you so concerned if I'm having sex?
Exactly. But it's like, and those are usually the people who have been divorced at least twice.
I do feel that though. Like I've told you before, and I think I've mentioned it on this podcast even, where like my parents and my grandparents are constantly like pressuring me to have kids, and I really don't feel like I might ever, like, I just out of choice, like I don't feel like that's for
Nothing wrong with
me.
that.
And I have no problem, with people like my sister that, want a lot of kids. It's fine. But for me personally, I it's always uncomfortable to be asked because it's like it's none of their business.
And for me, it makes me feel like a failure whenever it's like, well, I want some grandkids.
hmm
Well, I want bits that ain't broke.
Well, and then they say stuff like, "Oh, you're getting older. You have a window where you can have kids." And then after that, it's just over.
Which is bullshit.
Yeah, like you gotta have kids before you're 30. Like, no.
It may become there may be more problems, but guess what? You can still have them. So
Yep. I mean, I think my fiance's parents are like in their 60s, so they had him later in life.
I just never understood, like, how did society get set up to where we think that these are the goals to have a successful life? Why can't we set what we decide is successful?
I think there has been a little bit of progress. Like, I think with the younger generations, like us and Gen Z and stuff, like things are changing, but there's still this like expectation from society.
And it'll take more generations before that mindset is fully like
hmm
killed out of us.
Yeah, like I have a lot of friends who like either well, basically they're not a traditional family or they're not interested in marriage. Like they're with a partner, but they don't want to get married or anything.
Nothing wrong with that.
And I think, yeah, like, why is it a big deal that people are like, oh, if you're living together, you need to get married? I don't know.
Eh, I'll never understand society.
And then there's also the aspect of like career. So, like, what your job is, as if it's part of your personality. Like,
Yeah.
what what have you? Because people always ask you the age old question. So, what do you do?
Or so what do you want to do with your life?
I never know how to answer that question. Or where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? I'm like, I don't
I
fucking
hate
know.
that question. I am neurodivergent. I don't know what I'm doing 5 minutes from now.
Same. Like 5 years ago, if you would have told me that I would be in Texas, like working at like a
At your job.
software company, like I would have told you were nuts. Like I hated moving here. Like I always said, like, oh, I'll never move to Texas, and then I moved to Texas.
If you'd have told my younger self that me now, I would be taking care of my grandpa and I'd have an iPad doing art and I'd be drawing lots of spicy art, I would have never believed it.
That's what I'm saying. Like nobody knows where they're gonna be in 5 years because so much
Yeah.
changes in that amount of time.
And I feel like no matter, especially for job interviews, no matter how you answer that question, it's somehow wrong.
Right?
Because it's like,
Yeah.
oh, you want to give the ambitious, like hard worker answer. But then they're going to be like, oh, they're coming from my position. They're going to be a problem.
No. Yeah.
But then it's like, But it's like if you give the, well, I'm not really sure, but I look forward to working here and finding my place in the company and
then
being
then
able to
you're
help out.
then you're like
Then you're the lazy, don't know where
indecisive.
you're going.
Yeah.
Like, so what's the correct answer?
That's so true.
Ugh.
And every job interview I've ever had has been completely different. Like they do ask you some of the same questions, but like some are chill and then others are like, I don't know, really critical.
Can we agree group interviews are stupid?
I hate that.
I hate them so
There
much.
was this okay, the worst interview I've ever had, it was for a university and I had 10 people interview me at the same time and they were all like they would take turns like asking me questions and I was sweating so much. Like it
See,
was
and if they
scary.
ask just the group a question, well, obviously I'm not going to try to interrupt anyone else.
Yeah. So with career it's like, how much money do you make? How big is the company? What's your position? Things like that.
Yeah. I feel like for me, the measure of success I have is my happiness in my job. I'm happy taking care of my grandpa. I may only work 15 hours a week, but
You have a
I'm
lot of free time though, which is I envy
and
that
I get
because
and
I
I get to pursue
don't.
all these different crafts and other stuff that I want to do.
Mhm.
I get to spend time with those I love and care about, play
Mhm.
games, do all the art I want. I feel like my success is in my happiness because I don't want to just work to my grave.
See, I've been thinking about that a lot lately too, where like I'm happy where I'm at with my career, but like I don't want to stay there forever because I feel like
Yeah.
I have no free time anymore. Like I'm just always working or tired, and I'm glad I don't have to work on weekends, but I'd like to get to a point financially where I don't have to work as much anymore. Like before I'm
And
50, preferably.
yeah, retirement is just a fever dream.
Going off of like, you know, marriage and kids and I guess just relationships in general, I'm really bad at relationships. I think part of it's just because I'm introverted, but the other part is like neurodivergency. But I think a lot of my like depression and social anxiety play into it as well, where it's like I do this thing where like I promise to do better in keeping up with relationships and then I don't do that.
I do that all the time.
And then I feel like a failure because I can't do it.
See, I've gotten to the point where I'm just like, you know what? Anyone who actually cares about me knows that I suck at keeping up with people. So,
Well, and it's not just like friends for me. It's like my family, like which I know, family is debatable because I know not everybody's really close with their family, but I just I don't know. I always like promise to be around more and then I'm not. It's so hard to like my social battery is just so small. Like I can only handle so much and then I'm just like I need to be alone. Like I need some time.
yeah, because I'll make plans and I'll be like, oh, yeah, I can't wait. Next Saturday we'll hang out. And then next Saturday comes and it's like, oh, I
You're
just
like,
want to stay
no.
home. It's like I
Yeah.
want to go to the event, but I don't want to leave the house.
You're right though what you said about like real friends cuz like you and I will go like weeks without talking and then we could just pick up where we left off and it's
Yep.
not it's not a big deal. Like we're not like you
We know
never
the other's
talk to
not.
me anymore. I don't want to be your friend anymore. Like
If either of us say anything like that, we're literally just being dramatic for the sake of it.
Yeah, like I like friendships like that where you're understanding of the other person and it's chill. Like we can just pick up whenever we see each other again.
Exactly.
I feel so exhausted when I have friendships that I feel like I have to maintain.
And to me, to an extent, I feel like those just aren't, I don't want to say aren't real friendships, but if you feel exhausted hanging out with people, that's not just the social battery.
It's
To me,
not
it's like, is
healthy.
it worth it?
Yeah, it's not
Because
healthy
it's
to an
almost like you
extent.
have to wear a mask and be a certain way around them.
Mhm. That's true. I felt a lot like that in the past. I think it's because like I was trying so hard to like fit in at church and stuff and I don't do that anymore, so like I feel freedom from that.
And see, that's part of why I'm not a church person, because you see the stuff I like and how I like to dress.
They just make it more of a social thing and not really like what it's supposed to be about.
But then they're like all, at least around here, a lot of the churches, they like gather around just to be like, ah, yes, look at this person. Look,
Yeah.
look at Kalani over there, dressed like such a slut. Where I'm literally just in like shorts that are just above my knee and I'm wearing a tank top.
That tank top is so slutty.
My shoulders are out. I'm such a
My
whore.
shoulders.
I'm such a whore.
Don't look at my shoulders. But yeah, honestly, I understand what that feels like. Like even as a Christian, and I've talked about this before, is like I've been judged by other Christians, so like it's a horrible feeling when people do that.
Especially when they seem really nice at first
Uh
and
huh.
then
It's all
it's
fake.
like, oh, because I remember going to this one church that was, it was my family's church, so it was one of the better ones. And by family, I mean like my uncle's church.
Mhm.
And there was this one person who I had known back in, I want to say like kindergarten, but he remembered me.
Mhm.
And I was like, cool. And it felt like he was just trying to get in my pants. And I was like, stop.
Ew.
I was like, I don't want to talk to
That's
you.
creepy.
Leave me alone. I don't I don't like I don't like people.
I don't like people either. But I guess like I feel like I could do better like keeping up with you sometimes and my
Hey, I could do better too, so
my sister cuz she does genuinely care and it's just a matter of like maybe I'll just text them, or you or whatever.
I feel like it's the whole like fear of like, oh god, what kind of conversation is it gonna lead into and can I handle it today?
I think the freedom to stop the conversation when you want to is important.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I can just ghost you basically and we're cool, then we're
Mm-hmm.
cool. But like if you're gonna be like, oh my god, where'd you go? Like why aren't you messaging me? Hello. That's irritating because my other sister does that sometimes. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I have ADHD, first of all, so I'm wandering around usually and finding other things to do.
I literally got distracted by food and then I thought, hey, I'm gonna play a video game and my phone was not in my hand, so I forgot.
But she equates that with like, oh, you don't really care, you don't really want to talk to me. It's like that is not it at all.
Yeah.
Man, I've been thinking about my depression a lot lately because it's been affecting not only my relationships but also a list of other things that I've typed out. Like I was thinking about my New Year's goals and like how I wanted to like start swimming slash working out, just doing something to work out, at least like at an hour, 30 minutes a day.
Yeah.
Um, but I haven't yet. I haven't really been doing that. And finishing projects on time. Like I'll start a bunch of stuff and it will literally sit on my living room table for weeks and I won't
I feel that.
I won't finish it until maybe like 3 months later.
That's why, like, since I started painting my wall, uh, I've just been like, okay, I have to finish the piece I'm working on today or it will never get finished.
Yeah. Especially with my creative energy, like it just comes in spurts at random times. Like I cannot plan when that'll happen. For commissions and stuff. Like last night, I was feeling creative, and that's why I made you those stickers out of the blue because I was just like,
And
oh,
I
I just feel
love
like
them so much.
I felt like drawing something, but not something super complicated that was going to take a lot of time. So I was like, oh, I'll just do that real quick.
Yeah, I
Um,
was gonna make myself new stickers and I started it and I was like, wow, I hate this.
one of the
I just,
biggest things that I do that really irritates me, besides like procrastinating on stuff or just never finishing stuff, is food expiring.
oh my god, I just threw out a thing uh, of biscuits that went bad.
I threw out an entire, almost an entire thing of bagels that I just bought like a week ago.
Not the bagels.
Yeah, like I only ate two of them, and then the other three were all moldy, so I had to throw them out. Do you know how many times I'm like, I feel like I just bought this? And it was actually like three
Same.
weeks ago when I bought it.
I'll buy like a thing of chicken and I'll be like, okay, today or tomorrow, you know, within the, if not today, then the next 2 days, we're gonna cook it. And I'm like, ah, but we could have this instead. Oh, this
Hmm.
actually sounds really good tonight. And then I look and I'm like, shit, the chicken went bad. So we've
That is
gotten to
literally
where,
my life.
so we're like, okay, we do not buy anything unless we are cooking it that night or the next. It has to be.
I hate that so much because like I'll buy like an entire thing of like I don't know spinach or something. I like spinach, and I'll be like, okay, I'm gonna have salad because I'm trying to eat healthier a little bit, and
Ugh.
I I buy it and then I literally maybe eat it once and then the rest of it just goes bad and I throw it away. I feel like a failure, Kalani.
You are not a failure. The
but it's
world just sucks.
But I'm curious, like people who don't have depression, like do you eat all of your food within the expiration dates? Or is that a common thing that everybody goes through where like, oh yeah, my
I feel
food's
like a
expired.
lot of people have to go through that to some extent.
Probably
Especially if
not as
people
much
like,
though.
I feel like if it's people who buy, especially a lot of stuff in bulk, unless you're cooking like family meals or cooking your own food every night,
Yeah.
then to some extent you gotta go through some food wastage, especially if you buy like a lot of, like burger, steak, chicken, all that stuff.
Mhm.
Unless they are freezing it, then I feel like people have to go through that.
My depression makes me feel like a failure cuz like I will literally leave dishes in the sink for 2 weeks and they get moldy and nasty.
I literally wrote myself a chore chart so that I have to follow, and it's made things so much better.
I need to.
I
Like
literally have to treat myself like a fucking toddler to make sure I get things
a
done.
sticker chart.
Who doesn't
I
love
need one.
stickers?
I need one of those too for like cleaning the bathroom because that gets pretty nasty too, or cleaning the kitchen mostly,
Because I cleaned my
doing the
grandpa's
dishes.
house for like an hour, and then I get to relax, but then I come home and it's like, great, now I gotta do laundry,
It's
dishes, and all that
like, oh
again.
yeah, I forgot about my house. Yeah, It's bad. I'm always embarrassed because I feel like when people come over and I don't clean absolutely everything, that they're gonna think I'm like a heathen living in a trash heap.
Well, you are a heathen.
But like if my panties were in the floor of the bathroom or like
I literally had a friend just randomly show up last night, and I had pajama pants and underwear on the bathroom floor, and I'm like, it is what it is.
it is what it is.
I'm the type of friend that if I forget I have a friend staying the night and I get up the next morning, I will walk out possibly topless and in my underwear. And it'd just be like, oops, enjoy the
yesterday
show.
yesterday I had an intrusive thought where I was like
Oh,
oh, I need to go check the mail, and I started to walk outside of the house without pants on.
oh my gosh, I've almost done that to water my tomato plant so many
I was
times.
like, hold on, wait a second. Like, I went as far as to open the door, but nobody saw me. And then I
But
closed
then it,
it. I closed it, and I was like, no, wait, I gotta put pants on. What am I
oh yeah,
doing?
pants are a thing.
Uh, Public indecency. I don't want to commit that. But,
Especially in Texas.
yeah. It's like I, the reason I said it was an intrusive thought because I was just like, no, it's fine. I can go outside without pants on. Who cares?
Got underwear on. I'm covered. I'm
It's
good.
pretty much covered. But no,
I've had where. Oh, go ahead.
what I was saying is like when I was on vacation, I had one of my friends come over to check on Picasso, my clownfish, to give him some food, and then I was thinking like, oh god, like it's a mess over there. Like, what if my underwear's in the floor? It was fine,
I mean,
but like
no worse than walking through the store and having the underwear just right there.
my
You
place
just
was a
know that
mess, but like
the only difference is that you just know that these have been worn at least once.
ugh. Mm.
I've had where when I've had to let my dog out in the late afternoon to the evening, I'm usually topless then, and I'll just be like, I don't care, and I'll step outside and I'll unhook her lead or I'll hook it on her, whichever if I'm letting her in or out, and I'm just like, whatever.
With your titties out?
Full display.
Seriously?
I will step on my front porch and I will let the dog in or out.
Dang, that's hardcore.
They're just titties.
See, I wish everyone felt that way.
I mean, I'm just like, it's a boob. It's two boobs. Wow. Take a picture.
Bonus boob.
You see the one? Well, guess what?
I got
Bonus
another one
boob.
right here. Mm.
But I mean, it's usually dark, so most people ain't gonna see anything.
Plus, it's where you live, so
I mean, I'm
I've
just
seen a
like,
lot of man titties that are bigger than yours around there.
exact, exactly. Like, men can walk around with their big old fat titties flopping around, but my titties, oh no, no, get those milkers out of here.
Uh, anyway, back on topic. We're done talking about boobs
We
for
don't
now.
we don't get distracted.
I feel like a failure because like I'm glad that I'm able to like get up and go to work every day, even though I don't feel like it most days. I still do. But like I don't really have a savings. I don't really keep my house, like my apartment, that clean most of the time. Like I can't even say I try cuz I don't. I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. But like it's embarrassing for me sometimes. Like I embarrass myself. It's not even like other people. it's just like, oh wow, like I let that get that nasty. I feel bad about that. Or
Yeah, I have that happen, and I'm like, you know what? And I use it to kind of motivate myself.
yeah.
I know it's tough to do though.
Like here's another example. I since I moved in here, my fridge has had gnats, like dead gnats in the back of it,
Ugh,
and I haven't wiped them out in like 2 years. Cuz
adds flavoring.
one I can't really reach it without like getting on the floor, which I'm not about to do. And second of all, like I'm the only one that's really eating stuff out of my fridge, and it doesn't really bother me that much. So, because they're not
Check the
touching
seasoning.
extra protein. They're not really touching anything though. Like they're just kind of dead, like in the very back of the fridge and the
I mean, worst
freezer.
case scenario, they just get cooked off the food. I mean, they're getting cooked.
Well, that's the thing. So like all the food is packaged. Like I don't leave anything open. So like it's not hurting anything. But if somebody who, cleans a lot saw that, they'd be like, "Ew, that's disgusting. Like you're fucking nasty."
I mean, I'll be honest. Like, whenever we had a problem when they were like cleaning out the neighbor's place, getting it ready for a new tenant, and they finally cut that grass that was like almost as tall as me behind it.
Mhm.
Yeah, we got mice. And my art room being the closest room, so on my shelves in my closet I had some mouse turds, and it took a while for me, like after we had gotten rid of the mice, to
Mhm.
actually clean it up.
Well, yeah, it's like mouse turds. You won't be touching all that.
Because part of me in my brain I'm like, well, I'm just gonna get more mice. Why try?
Mhm.
Just the depression there.
I
But
relate to
eventually
that.
I clean it up.
That's my thought. Like my mom, like she's such a neat freak. She always raised me like just I don't know, like there's the
My mom
basic
kinda was
there's
too.
the basic cleaning up after yourself, and then there's like the neat freak version where like my clean isn't her clean, and that's kind of how I was raised, where it's like, pick up your towels off the floor, pick up your dirty panties, like nobody wants to see that, and then like put the dishes
At,
away right after you use them.
or at the holidays, no one's gonna be in your room. Your door is literally gonna be shut the whole time.
Yeah, she'd be
But
like, go make your bed and clean your room because we have people
y-
coming over, but they're not coming
I
in
would
your room.
I would literally have my mom be like, "You need to clean your room. It is a fucking mess. Look at how disgusting this is." I'm like, I got mad one day and I was like, "They're not eating off my damn floor. They're not even going in my room.
I
The
mean, they're
door is
not.
gonna be shut. The most they're gonna get is a quick peek in there when I emerge from my cave."
Yeah, it's like all you really need to clean is the kitchen and the bathroom, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah,
I mean,
but because of stuff like that now, anytime I get stuff, I'm like, because it happens. Like
mhm.
if I get a roach or I see a bug, I'm like, I'm a failure. I have failed at everything. My home is disgusting. I'm one of those
That
people.
okay, honest truth, that has been me lately. I have found I found a roach in my air fryer yesterday. Like in the morning, I was making some chicken for my lunch at work, and like I opened up my air fryer and there's a freaking roach just crawling in it, hanging out, and I'm like, get the fuck out of there. First of all, how'd you even get in here? Second of all,
Why the fuck are you here and not paying rent?
yeah, you owe me money. So what I did was I didn't really like squish it and throw it away. I kind of just like washed it onto a plate in my sink, and
Uh huh.
I drowned it in dish soap and just left it there. It's still there now.
I don't. They're so gross and they are
It's
so
dead.
impossible to kill.
It's dead, but like I haven't actually like washed it down the drain. It's still there.
Just the fact of perceiving that it exists, though.
Yeah. No, I feel that. In fact, like this morning I was sitting eating breakfast in my living room and I see something scurry across my table and I'm like, what the hell was that? And then I turn a
Oh
light on
no.
and there's a roach on the table. I'm like, there's not even any
Oh,
food in here. Why are you here?
you someone must have gotten roaches that lives near you.
That's what everybody's been telling me because I told everybody at work like that I had the exterminators come and I still got roaches. So there's got to be something to this.
It's
Cuz
gotta be one of your neighbors and they gotta be getting into your place, cause
cuz
that's what
I
happened when I lived at my apartment.
I told them like, I've even if I keep everything clean, like, you know, I put the dishes away, I keep the kitchen clean, I keep the bathroom clean. They're still there. Like it doesn't matter. And
Roaches are so rude.
it does make you feel like a dirty person because when I got back from vacation, I found this big ass roach, dead one, thank God, in my bathroom, and I'm like, I don't even know where this came from because there's no like gap that he would have fit through. But
They just find a way and they show up and they act like they pay rent.
yeah, but literally since I moved in, I kid you not, like I have had a roach problem, and I keep thinking it's me, but I don't think it is now. I think it is
Y-
somebody else.
y- I know you, and I don't think you're dirty enough of a person that you would just nah.
Thanks.
You you'd have to be keeping some really expired stuff and be leaving a lot of food out and leaving your trash out.
That's the thing. That's why I'm so confused because like I do throw my trash away, and then I thought maybe like those of you who know that I'm a baby fur, like I do use diapers sometimes. I thought it was maybe the diapers in the trash can at one point, but I don't I don't think that's it. I think it's one of my neighbors like leaving food
It's
out.
gotta be.
I am I thank God that I haven't had any you know what's around here.
Ugh.
Just
That's,
bugs.
yeah,
I don't want it to escalate though.
yeah.
Mm.
That because it just makes you feel like because and it always happens when you're like, wow, I'm really getting things together. I'm doing good. I feel great. And then you see a roach or a fuzzy crawly, a mouse, you know, and it's
Mhm.
like, wow, I've really failed. I suck. Why do I
You
try?
you just see this big fat roach crawling across your table where you're eating breakfast, and you're like,
You're just like, okay, I'll go lay down. I'm a failure.
I might as well just not leave the house today. uh,
And I feel like that's from our parents'
it
generation that's been
is.
instilled
It
in us.
is absolutely yes.
Because we're not dirty people, but shit happens.
And then I think like they only taught us that way because they were taught that way. So it's like it's a cycle.
I mean, obviously, don't get lazy and be like, oh, it just happens, but there's a point to it,
Yeah.
you know? Because there are some people who are just disgusting.
That is true. And I think distinguishing between those can be hard sometimes.
And
But
I think if people can recognize, hey, I need help, that's not a failure. That's more, that's like the biggest success you can make when you realize I have fucked up and I really need help to get this situation under control, whether it's bugs, hoarding,
mhm.
anything. Being able to admit a wrong and ask for that help.
I do have hoarders in my family. I mean, I don't consider myself to be one because I don't collect trash or like old food or
You just
like
collect pins.
I mean, I do collect things, but it's usually like collectibles, and I can still get out my front door and go to the bathroom, and like
I
you
think
can.
as long as you can get outside and you're not just going to the bathroom in your living room, I think you're good.
I can still see my floor, so that's
You
good.
can still see your floor, you're good?
Yeah. In the
Alright.
whole apartment you can still see the floor. So to me that's a win. But
I so my job, which I only take care of my grandpa now, but I used to take care of other old people. There was this one woman, her house was literally falling in around her, and it was a thin path to walk through her place. She was such a hoarder.
mm,
And it's the smell, I'll never forget it. It haunts me.
I can only imagine.
She had like two dogs and like two or three cats. And she had a bird, a cockatiel, that was in a cage that was a little too small. That's more my personal preference, but she couldn't clean the cage. She didn't want to try
Mhm.
risk letting the bird out, and she'd let the tray at the bottom get too full to where it
Mm,
doesn't even. So it's just piling up shit.
it's just a shit cake.
It is.
Ew.
It is the worst kind of cake. It is a shit cake.
That's so nasty. Mm.
That poor bird.
Mhm.
And he was being fed a terrible diet. But that's something I can rant about another day.
I have walked into like some past friends' houses and it just smells like piss.
Ugh.
Like just, every smell imaginable is there. And it's like and then you come home smelling like it. And it's
I
just
had
like
this other lady who was a little bit of a hoarder, but not quite as bad. But she had been in the hospital or when I say rehab, I mean like rehabilitation,
mhm.
like to help after like having a fall
Yeah.
for a whole summer. So there was no one to take care of her apartment.
Like physical
So,
therapy.
yeah, but where she actually has to stay at the place.
Mhm.
And her place, it was disgusting. Like all summer locked up, no AC going. All this food went bad. She got roaches, she got rats, mice. But see, she didn't really help out the situation cuz I had cleaned up. Like I got her bedroom pretty cleaned up.
Mhm.
And then I came back and she literally like she would eat one of those little like personal size little bag of chips and she'd just drop it on the floor.
Oh, I can't stand that.
It's like, you have my services over here helping you to clean, and this way I literally, because the laundry room was literally one of those, like, walk-in closets that's been converted,
Mhm.
or like a little food pantry, so it's like you can access the washer, but then to get to the dryer, you, like, have to scooch against the wall and be squished,
Mhm.
and I would not do it because, first off, I don't know what creepy crawly is gonna fall on me, and I'm literally in there, lights on, and I can see mice just walking around. I'm like,
Mhm.
"No thanks.
And
No thanks."
I understand when people have like a mental illness, and they can't they feel like they can't clean up after themselves. I get
Get it. It
that.
gets to a point.
But you
But
got to you got to get some help. I mean, okay, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. I'm actually starting therapy for my own depression soon.
well,
Um
that's good.
my first appointment is on the 12th, so yeah,
Well, you have to let me know how that goes.
I will.
If I could afford therapy, I would. But till then, I will keep making my terrible jokes.
I
'Cause that's
found
my therapy.
I found them through my sister who was a previous patient of theirs, and she said it really helped her with like her depression and like just lack of motivation and stuff, just to have somebody to talk to.
See, my problem is it's hard to find someone who's LGBT friendly around here.
I totally understand that. Yeah, like I can imagine a lot of them are like old too, like they're just like boomer age.
Yeah.
It's like no.
But I think as much as society makes us wanna think with the way we've been raised and how we see things on TV and in
Hmm.
movies, make us think as much that we failed, I think we're doing pretty good in life. I think we've succeeded.
I agree. And we're about at our hour mark, so I'm going to leave you guys with this. You really can't compare yourself to other people. I think you can really only compare yourself to your past self, and if you're doing better than your past self, then that's a win. I think that is success.
Sounds about right to me.
Just going to leave that there. But thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.